On this episode, we're going to be discussing enemies. Enemies can present themselves in your life not just as narcissists, not just as your family. They can be friends, family, former spouses, current spouses. Enemies don't have to be people that you necessarily dislike or believe yourself to have a problem with. If you're always on the defense with the people around you, having to debate things, get to the bottom of things, or actually, if there's no conversation at all, meaning healthy dialogue right down the middle. I'm not talking about everyone has to have the emotional skill of Dr. Phil. If you're often misunderstood, if you're often being put down, if you're often being talked about and you just don't know why, it's because you have material enemies. Some of us have heard the term material enemies, but what does a material enemy mean? They view the substance in your life to be of such extreme value that they don't want to be like you. They don't want to have the things that you have. They just don't want you to have it. You may sit there and think, well, who the hell is sitting around thinking about you this way? I can tell you a lot of people that I used to know. I can tell you definitely both sides of my family. Enemies can be closer than you think. And a skill that you really need with dealing with enemies is discernment. It's not about carrying dislike or hate within your heart for anyone or comparing yourself to the next individual. It's having the realization that there are individuals that are comparing themselves to you, and not just your materials, the way that you handle things, your social skill, your wherewithal, being a hustler, just not letting things get to you. Whatever you have within yourself, that fire, that fight, that really can bother people. And to have an enemy, it doesn't have to be people who are physically threatening you or stealing things from you. It can just be people who are trying to drain you of whatever keeps your spark going, whatever pushes you to wake up the next day. There's a lot of circumstances in the world right now that are having an impact on people in their day-to-day lives, causing them to be some major pieces of shit. It doesn't have to be a stranger on the street or a girl at the job that you don't like. It can be one of your closest friends. It can be one of your closest family members. It can be your entire family. It can be both sides of your family. You have to be willing to call these things out. And when you have these enemies, it's difficult for a lot of people to have that level of discernment to realize that they've become one of the crabs in the barrel, or they've fallen into line. They're getting in where they fit in. You've fallen into your role, whether that's in your family, your friend setting, that's at work. Personal independence and discernment against enemies is what really leads to you living a good life and having the ability to walk away from those types of things, no longer giving your energy towards them. A major thing with me as far as dealing with enemies is the fact that I'm expressing myself on this podcast. Whether I'm gay, whether I'm black, I'm a man, what I'm doing is not ordinary. I'm sitting in a public setting, expressing myself, talking about the things that I've been through and the impact that they've had on me. I've gotten a lot of negative feedback, and those are enemies. Some of them are my blood relatives. I don't hate them. I don't dislike them. What I do know is much they do not identify and they do not understand. If you ever feel misunderstood, you're just beating a dead horse, you're discussing things that don't need to be discussed, you're not getting anywhere, you feel so misunderstood, they understand. They want you to conform. They want you to lose a certain aspect of yourself that they just don't like. There's something about you that they can't let go. So they leave it up to you to make it easier for them to get along with you. They want you to question yourself. They want you to second guess yourself. Having enemies, especially as a man, is based in toxic masculinity. Men don't talk about things. Men don't discuss how they feel. You're supposed to roll with the punches. You're supposed to let anybody do anything to you. You're supposed to sing your songs and put a smile on your face. No, I'm going to call it out. This isn't right. This is not okay. I don't accept this. It could be with the things going on around you, within your friend group, at the workplace, within your family. Enemies come along because they want you to go along with the okie doke. Enemies always want you to do something for them. They want to take something from you. Enemies can manifest as your aunt that doesn't want you at Thanksgiving dinner because they've created a narrative that they want people to believe. Although they've never indulged you in a conversation, given you the benefit of the doubt, tried to have any type of conversation with you or gain some type of understanding. Enemies can manifest as your cousin who tells you you're not on their level. Enemies can manifest as your sister who puts your dad's ashes in a chicken salad container. Enemies can manifest as your aunt who calls you on the phone and says, hey, don't you want to get back in your mother's life? And then in the next breath say, oh, well, she was just talking about you. She said you probably have AIDS. But you're asking me, what's my next move? Why I'm not making effort? Why I don't want any resolve? Because I always have to be on the defense. There is no offense here. I can't just be myself. I can't just express myself. We don't have to go on diatribes and litanies and have an episode of Dr. Phil and Oprah every time something goes wrong. It's about accountability. And enemies, your enemy is never going to surrender. They're never going to tell you what they've done wrong, even if they know it. And they're embarrassed by it because you were never supposed to have the ability to tell them that. You were never supposed to be able to see through the bullshit. You were never supposed to be able to be like, something doesn't seem right or something's fishy. You're not supposed to have the autonomy to think for yourself in this world full of enemies. It's so sad because it's running out of these people's skin. They can't even hide the level of control that they want to have in your life. An enemy doesn't have to be a girl you didn't like on the playground when you were a kid. Or your ex-boyfriend. Your enemy could be your girlfriend that you go shopping with, but she doesn't have the same amount of money as you. So she's always saying, oh, girl, put those shoes back. You have to be willing to point this out and say that it's not okay. Most often, nowadays, these people are not going to apologize. They're not going to say that they're wrong. They're not going to acknowledge their faults. They know what's wrong with them. They know what's wrong with you. They know all the great things about you, and they don't know all the great things about themselves. A lot of people, when it comes to these social settings and having these enemies, is that they are working with a broken toolbox. The tools you have are shiny, fresh, and new. They're trying to figure out, well, why aren't my tools like his, like hers, like theirs? I want to get through life how they're getting through life. Enemies like to provoke unnecessary fear, envy, lack of compassion, competition, and insecurity. Having emotional intelligence doesn't make you weak. That's one of the tools that is fresh, shiny, new, and you're dealing with people that have this broken, old, rusty toolbox that only are left to toxic devices, divisive devices, devices that tear not only others down, but themselves down. Having that level of emotional intelligence is building an identity that these people have never built. They never found themselves worth being able to express what's going on with them or what's wrong in a healthy manner. Somebody took something from them. Their spirit, their happiness, whatever. So they subconsciously will continue to take from you. A major part of having this discernment is knowing the difference between perception and opinion. I think that we all should be focused on the perception of us as far as how we're being received. But if you actually asked me if I gave a fuck about what people's opinion of me are, I don't care. I think that's what throws a lot of people off about the way that I choose to communicate, is because I choose to address things that people wouldn't typically address. It's not that I'm always willing to argue, it's that it just doesn't have to be this way. We don't owe anything to one another. The level of disrespect in which people are operating is very unfortunate. It's very sad because these material enemies have no shame. We all talk about the fact that, we have haters and those sort of things. In today's society, the things that we're dealing with right now, it's ridiculous out here. I say things that are controversial because I want to get people thinking. I want to turn you upside down. I want to make you upset. Maybe that might change something within you. It may have an impact on you that's a little bit more profound than just a normal conversation. Your enemies want you to endure everything in your life in silence. You're not supposed to speak up about it. When you do make yourself vulnerable, they're going to use that against you in many different degrees. Some small instances and some large instances. You have to have the discernment to know when these people are using these things against you. Navigating these enemies, you have to be willing to confront the trauma, the grief, without shame. Hit it dead on. You have to know when to speak up for yourself strategically, when to observe. You have to have a certain level of personal independence and circumstantial independence, not relying on validation from those around you or those who would diminish you. Then have accountability for yourself. Own your mistakes. Own your role. Do something that they're not willing to do. To me, a man is not someone who can't talk about things. To me, a man is not someone who allows just anything to fly. A man is a leader. A man is a protector. A lot of being a man is about action, but I believe a lot of being a man is about character, and it's about intention, impact, and influence. And I believe that when you embrace this as a man, that doesn't make you weak. I believe it makes you very well equipped, very aware of the world around you. My willingness to express my faults, vulnerabilities, emotions is not because I'm seeking validation. It's because I realize that coming to these conclusions are beneficial to me moving forward. Not only for myself, but the good people around me. I don't want to have a negative effect on myself or those around me, and I don't want them to have a negative effect on me or themselves. I hope that through life we understand that there's no guarantee for happiness. There's a lot of ups and downs. Having a level of self-awareness where you don't allow yourself to have a negative effect on the next person does make you better. People have material enemies and don't even realize it. It goes back to hurt people hurting people, or things that people just weren't quite taught or equipped with. We have to be willing to do better, to be better than yesterday, better than our former selves, better than the people who raised us. That's not kumbaya shit, because it's really not that difficult. As I said earlier, people aren't putting themselves in other people's shoes. They want to take your shoes. A part of being a human being is the nuance of different experiences and what people may go through. When you're going through contention with people, you're always arguing with someone, you always have an issue with someone, and you just misunderstood, they're failing to understand. They don't want to understand because no one wanted to understand them. And that's what we have to get past. So many people understand me better for expressing myself the way that I'm expressing myself on this platform. So many people have only misunderstood me more. But guess what? Those individuals that misunderstand me, don't think I should be doing this, have something negative to say, they don't know how to express themselves. They're going without something in life. They wish they could sit in a public forum and express themselves. And not about getting anything back from it. They just wish that they were able to say it out loud. They wish they were able to call it what it is. Emotional maturity and emotional awareness is something your enemies are not equipped with. That's what I mean by you can't allow your feelings and vulnerabilities to fall to the wayside, because then you become just like them. When you become unaware, when you lose that aspect of yourself, where because this is just the way things have always been. We just don't talk about nothing. Why can't you go along to get along? Because that doesn't work for me. I don't accept that. I'm not becoming complacent. I'm not lowering the bar. We want to raise the bar. I don't have to do it nicely for it to be impactful. I'm going to talk how I want to talk. A lot of people really lack respect in the human experience. They want to mitigate and reduce what you've gone through and diminish what you've gone through. They want to decide that what they've gone through was worse. Enemies walk around with armor on, made of insecurity, blame, and projection. They don't want to clean up their own house. They want to just take the roof off of yours. We all have this perception and delusion of freedom, especially in America. Many people, believe they can be who they want to be, say the things they want to say, do the things that they want to do. But the reality is, on the surface, it sounds really liberating, but socially, everyone is constrained by what the next person is doing. A part of having that discernment is not being constrained by what the next person is doing. Not allowing enemies to have an effect on you. Moving with intention. That's what I'm working on. And that's my suggestion to you. Don't allow your life to be disorganized chaos. Why not have some fun with it and make it organized chaos? Of course, my enemy would think that I'm getting on this podcast and I don't know what I'm saying. Of course, my enemy would think that I'm making myself vulnerable and this is going to cause me detriment. Of course, my enemy thinks that I'm doing something that I cannot handle. Of course, my enemy is feeling as if I'm now ostracizing them and I'm not offering them any consideration for what they've done to me. Of course, my enemy thinks that I'm a victim. Even if I put that victim hat on, you've already admitted something was done to me. So that's what I mean by I have a smile on my face. I've accepted these things. You cannot allow them to use their tools against you throw those tools right back at them. Of course this doesn't make sense to you because you're my op. You're the opposition. You're against me. You don't want to see me get over things because you've never gotten over them. You're weak, and that's okay. That's what I want people to be able to call out, is that there's weak people around you. I feel like that's a word that has left so many people's vocabulary, is the word weak, W-E-A-K. Yes, they are weak. Does that mean they'll be weak forever? Does that mean that you're speaking against their entire existence? No. They are just weak in this moment, in this situation, or even in comparison to you, since they're so eager to compare themselves already. There's nothing wrong with coming to those conclusions. That doesn't make you arrogant. They're the ones that are arrogant within their narratives, thinking that they're coming in on their white horses, but they're coming in on their white fucking donkeys. I take great joy in making sure that people who have shown up in my life as enemies know that they're pieces of shit, that they're not good people, that they cannot fuck with me. You came into my life ready to turn some shit upside down. I'm gonna do backflips on your dumb ass. However enemies manifest in your life, if it is your family, if it is close friends, if you don't have a big circle, a part of what I'm talking about is finding your inner strength. While you're calling them weak, they're calling you something 100 times fucking worse to anybody who's willing to, or they're plotting their next move against you. How to control you, how to keep you right where you're at. If you identify with anything that I'm discussing right now, find that inner strength. Speak up for yourself. Break that chain. Distance yourself. Change that narrative. Break that cycle. End the dysfunction. Whatever you want to call it. Find your self-worth. Create meaningful interactions. You don't need these people. You can stand on your own. If it's the workplace, you can find a new job. There's certain things that you just don't have to accept. And when you make the decision not to accept those things, your life only becomes better and theirs becomes worse. Thank you guys for watching. Next week we'll have some more story time and talk some more shit. Ha ha ha.